In this video, we're going to be looking at cast diagrams, reduction formula, and core functions. Okay, so firstly, there are three rules that I need us to discuss before we go to reduce our trig functions. Okay, the first rule is, let me get my pen. So the first rule, right, is to always know that we assume that the value of theta is what? It's between 0 and 90. So it's an acute angle. This is just for simplicity purposes. Yeah, so our theta, when you see theta everywhere in trigonometry, you have to know that theta is always less than what? 90 degrees. It's between 0 and 90 degrees. Perfect. Okay, and then when we do reduction, okay, and you have 180, so you have positive 180 or negative 180, you are going to maintain your trig ratio, okay? Also, when you have positive 360 and negative 360, you maintain your trig ratio. Also, when you have negative theta, you maintain your trig ratio. This is what I mean, ladies and gents. So if I have a sine, a cos, or a tan of 180 minus or plus something, the answer will still be sine of theta or whatever you were adding, and depending on the sign. But if you had a sine, it will still be a sine. If you had a cos, it will still be a cos. So it does not change, right? It does not change. You see, the function does not change. Tan will still be the tan. So the function does not change. For 180, so let me just show you here, plus minus 180, plus minus 360. And remember, if it's this, if you have minus, basically it's like you have 0 degrees minus theta. So for 0, 360, and 180, you maintain the same function. Okay, perfect. And then if your angle is 90, plus minus 90, and plus minus 270, plus minus theta, your sine is going to change to its core function. So the sine will become a cos, and then a cos will become a sine. So once you see 90 and 270, you know that you are going to switch. If you originally had a sine, now your answer will include a cos. If you originally had a cos, now your answer will include a what? A sine. And then if you have a tan, your answer will be a cot. Tan changes to cot, and cot changes to tan. But this one is not usually examined. But for a knowledge purpose, you also need to know it in case the examiner decides to test you or trick you on that one, right? Perfect. And then I'll also show you another trick on how to deal with this as we go into deeper into the section. Okay. So now let's go to our Cartesian plane. Okay, the cast diagram. So on the cast diagram, you have all, and then you have sine theta, you have tan theta, you have cos theta. What does these things mean here? Okay, I'm going to explain this diagram part by part. I'm going to break it down to you to make it easy. And ladies and gents, I advise you to know this diagram off by heart. Practice drawing it as many times as possible, because this is the basis of you doing really, really great in trigonometry. Trust me, if you know this diagram off by heart, that is the first most important step to doing well in this section. Okay, so now, as I said, I'm going to explain what does these things mean here. So all means all of them are greater than 0. Ne? So sine, cos, and tan, if we are in the first quadrant, we are going to have greater than 0. So they are all positive, basically, in the first quadrant. But in the second quadrant, only sine is what? Is greater than 0. So which means if you're in the second quadrant and you have a cos or a tan, you're going to have a negative. Good. Then the third quadrant, only what? Only tan is greater than 0. So here, if you have sine or cos, they are all going to be negative, and so on. And then here, if cos is the only one which is positive, so if I have sine or tan and they are in this quadrant, they are all going to be negative. Okay. That is what the all sine, tan, and cos mean. Perfect. They're just telling you the sign of the trig functions. So all trig functions are positive, sine only, tan only, and cos only positive there. Perfect. Then the phrase to remember this, it's all students take coffee. Ne? All students take coffee. Perfect. Now, let's talk about these numbers here. Okay, ladies and gents, this point here, ne? This point, it's our starting point. It's 0. Ne? It's 0. And then if we go anti-clockwise is this way. Remember, we're rotating in an opposite direction as the clock. We use positive. That's why here you can see that as I'm going up, I'm adding. Do you see it? As I'm going up, I'm adding. You see? As I'm coming this way, I'm adding. As I'm coming this way, I'm adding. And then you can see that from 0 to there, I added a 90, right? So you always add a 90, basically. And then 90 plus 90 gives you 180. 180 plus 90 gives you 270. 270 plus 90 gives you 360. And then if you go clockwise, you are subtracting. You can see here you have a negative because you move from here to the negative. And then from here, you add so you have negative 90, you minus a 90. From negative 90, you get negative 180. You subtract a negative 90 from negative 180, you get negative 270. You subtract the 90 there, you get negative 360. Right. Perfect. And those are the most important things you need to know about the cast diagram. Okay. With that said, now we are ready to solve this thing here. Ne? So I'm going to solve a little bit, and then if you think you get the hang of it, please pause the video and try to solve others on yourself and check if you are right. Ne? Because I always advise my learners to practice. Practice always makes perfect. Ne? So if you feel like you understand, don't watch the entire video, pause it, and try to attempt the others on your own and check the solutions. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to do the first one. Okay, so you always check the number that you have first. Ne? So I have 180, which means I'm here on. Okay, let me create dots. Ne? So 180, and then I need a dot there. I need a dot there. Sharp. If it's 180, right? I know that, okay, I'll still have a sign, because remember, we said if it's 180, 0, and 360, it doesn't change. So I had a sign, I'll still have a sign, right? Perfect. And then I know that I'm here. And then the minus, so I have 180 minus. 180 is here, minus means this side. You see, the minus means I move from here to this quadrant. So this quadrant, only sign is positive, right? And then here, I fortunately had sign, so the sign will remain positive here because I'm in the quadrant of this one here. So here, I'll just have positive sine theta. Okay, and that's it. And now, I'm going to do this one. I see, okay, I have 360, so I'm not going to change. So I still have sine theta. Right. Now I need to look at the sign, right? 360. Let's check 360 plus. 360 is here. Plus, we're going up. You see plus is here, so we're going up. So we're in the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, all of them are positive. So I'm done. This is positive. Okay. I have 180. So I'll still have a cos theta, no change. And then let's check where 180 minus is. 180 minus. Okay. Okay. Also, guys, here there should be a square. And maybe also here there should be a square. There's something we'll discuss about that. Okay. But now let's go back to our video. So here we have 180 minus. Okay. So 180 is here. And minus is in the second quadrant, right? In the second quadrant, we need to have sign for positive. Any other thing that we have is going to be negative. So now I'm in the second quadrant, but I have cos. So what's going to happen is going to be negative. Okay. Then now let's check this one. So 360 is here. Plus is in the first quadrant. I know I'm going to have positive and it's not going to change because it's 360. So that is just cos theta. Okay, good. 180, tan will just be tan theta because it doesn't change. Then let's check the quadrant. 180 minus 180 is here, minus is there. So in the second quadrant, so tan must be negative. Because in the second quadrant, we need only sign to be positive. Any other thing is becoming negative, right? Perfect. And then, this is the other thing. Sine 0 plus theta. I mean sine 90 plus theta. Okay. If I have 90, I know that sine will change to cos, right? So I'm going to have sine, cos theta this side. Remember 90 and 270, sine changes to cos, cos changes to sine, right? Now let's check. We're going to check 90 plus, 90 plus, okay. So 90 is there, positive 90 plus, we in the quadrant of sine. So our symbol will be positive because we're in the second quadrant here. And we have sine, so it's positive, basically. So we find, right. Perfect. And then let's do this one. This one is still in the second quadrant. Still in the second quadrant. But because I have a cos now, my sine is going to be negative. And then because I have 90, the cos will change to sine. So I'm going to have sine theta there. Right. And then let's come this side. I have negative 360 plus. Negative 360 plus is in the first quadrant. Negative 360 plus is in the first quadrant. So the sign will be positive because all of them are positive in the first quadrant. And then 360, so tan will just be tan. So it's tan theta. Okay. Now here I have negative 90 minus. Okay. Negative 90 is here. Right? And then minus means I'm in this side. I'm in the third quadrant. And in the third quadrant, sine is negative. So I'm going to have negative. Good. And then the 90 degrees tells me that sine must change to cos. So I'm going to have negative cos theta there. Okay. Now let's do this one. Remember this we said is in the third quadrant. Cos is also negative in the third quadrant. Because of 90, the cos will change to sine of theta. All right. Let's move on. So, ladies and gents, I want to discuss something very important here. If you have a square, right? If you have a square, you don't need to check the what? the sign, because your square is always going to be positive. So if you have a square, the sign remains positive, right? It does never change. It does not change. So if I have a square, I'm just concerned if it's going to switch or not. So I have 180. So it doesn't switch. So it's just sine squared theta. You don't check the sign if it's, you see, this is in the third quadrant because it's 180 plus. So usually you'll have a negative sign, but because you have a square, you just don't check the sign because the square will always be a positive. So cos squared, okay, I just check if it changes or not. It doesn't change. So it's cos squared theta. Perfect. Okay, let me put a square here so that I explain again. So if we had a square here, right? We don't check the quadrant. You just check, okay, you have 270. Remember, for 270, sine changes to cos. So you're just going to have cos squared theta. So if you have a square, you don't check the quadrant. You only check if your trig ratio is going to change or not. And that's it. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So let's look at this one. Sine 360 minus theta. Sine 360 minus theta, it's in the fourth quadrant because 360 is there and then minus is here. So in the fourth quadrant, sine is negative in the fourth quadrant. And then we're going to have no change because it's 360. So it's just sine theta. Don't forget, 0, 180, and 360, no change. 270 and 90, you definitely must change. Okay. Perfect. So let's check this one. Which quadrant is this? Negative 360 minus is in the fourth quadrant because it's positive in the fourth quadrant, and then it doesn't change. So I just have cos theta there. Right. Good. And then this one is tan 360 minus. Okay, let's check. 360 minus is in the fourth quadrant, as we showed there. 360 minus is here. Tan is negative, and then tan will not change because of 360 degrees. Perfect. And then now, let's check more. Let's check more. Here we have this. Let's check here. Okay. Negative 180 plus. So negative 180 plus is in the third quadrant. Tan is negative in the third quadrant, and tan will not change. So you just have tan theta there because it doesn't change because of the 180 degrees. Perfect. And then now let's quickly solve this ones. So guys, remember I said if it's negative, it means there's a, remember 0 we don't write, so there's a hidden 0 here. So it's 0 degrees minus basically, 0 degrees minus. So basically you are going to be in this quadrant here, you see, because 0 is here and then you minus it, so you come in this side. So just know that this quadrant here is the quadrant of negative theta, then this quadrant is the quadrant of theta. So if you see negative theta, you should just know that that is the fourth quadrant. You should just know it, that it is the fourth quadrant. So sine is negative in the fourth quadrant, cos is positive in the fourth quadrant, and then tan is negative in the fourth quadrant. Perfect. And then that's it about the negative. Okay. Good. And then now let's come here. Negative 360 minus. Remember, negative 360 is here, minus is here. So negative 360 minus is in the fourth quadrant. Right? It's in the fourth quadrant. So this is positive in the fourth quadrant. And it does not change because it's cos. So you have cos theta there. Right. And then let's check this one. -1, the order does not matter, because here they might try to confuse you. You see, they put the number this side, but here we're always starting with the number. So what you always do is you check what your number is first. Remember, if there's nothing, it means plus here, right? It means plus there. sharp. So it's minus 180 plus theta. So minus 180 plus theta is in the third quadrant, right? So tan is positive in the third quadrant, and it does not change because of 180. So you're just gonna have positive tan theta. Okay, now here you have positive 270 plus theta. Do you see it? So positive 270 is here, and then plus theta is there, right? So you are in the fourth quadrant. Cos is positive in the fourth quadrant, but cos changes to sine because of the 270, right? So you just have positive sine theta there. Perfect. And then let's check this one. Minus 90 plus theta. Minus 90 is here. Plus theta is in the fourth quadrant. So cos is positive in the fourth quadrant, but is going to change to a sine because of the 90 degrees. So it becomes sine theta. Then this one, the last one is going to be in the third quadrant because negative 90 is here, minus is there. So in the third quadrant, cos is negative, but cos changes to sine because of the 90. So it's negative sine theta. Okay. And that's about it for this video of reduction and co-functions. No? I'm sure this makes it easier for you to understand it now. And remember, ladies and gents, to learn this diagram off by heart. No? It is the most important diagram in trigonometry. For you to get reduction, simplification, and all those other questions on trigonometry, like general solutions, you need to know this diagram off by heart. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Please don't forget to hit the subscription button and to share with family and friends. Aluta continua. See you in another session of Maths Fanatics. Thank you.